The marriage I thought I had ended on a Thursday evening in November, though I wouldn't understand the full scope of the deception for several more days. Looking back, I should have questioned things sooner. The rigid schedule that never varied. The elaborate details about photography techniques I never saw her practice at home. The way she'd sometimes stare at nothing, lost in thoughts she'd never share. But trust is blind by design, and I'd loved my wife too much to see what was right in front of me. "I'm heading out, honey," Valerie called from the hallway, her camera bag slung over her shoulder. The same routine we'd followed every Tuesday and Thursday for 18 months. "Have fun at class," I replied from my home office, barely looking up from the Morrison contract I was reviewing. "Tell Mr. Peterson I said hi." She appeared in the doorway, and something in her expression made me pause. A flicker of something, guilt, sadness. It passed so quickly I wondered if I'd imagined it. "You know I don't actually talk to him about you," she said with a small laugh. "He's there to teach photography, not hear about my husband. Still, he should know I appreciate him helping you develop your talent." She crossed the room and kissed my forehead. "You're sweet. Don't work too late," says the woman who won't be home until after 10:30. "That's different. I'm learning. You're just making rich people richer." "Those rich people pay for your camera equipment," I reminded her, gesturing at the professional-grade Canon hanging from her shoulder. My Christmas gift to her last year. Fair point. She adjusted the strap, and I noticed her hands were trembling slightly. "You okay? You seem nervous." "Just excited. Mr. Peterson mentioned we might be doing some advanced lighting work tonight. I want to get it right." "You will. You always do." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Love you, Greg." "Love you too." I listened to her Honda backing out of the driveway, then returned to my contract. The house settled into its familiar Tuesday night quiet. This had been our routine for so long I couldn't imagine it any other way. Valerie pursuing her artistic passion while I caught up on work. It seemed like the perfect arrangement for two busy professionals. The next morning, my BMW refused to start. I turned the key, and nothing happened except a clicking sound that meant either the battery or starter had finally given up. "Damn it," I muttered, checking my phone. I had an essential client meeting in Phoenix at 9, the kind where showing up late could cost us a seven-figure contract. I called Valerie at work. "Hey babe, my car's dead. Can I borrow yours? I'll drop you at the office." "Oh, there was a pause. "Actually, I carpooled with Jennifer today. Her car's in the shop, so I'm her ride." "Jennifer from accounting?" "Yeah, sorry, honey. Can you Uber?" "To Phoenix? That'll cost a fortune." "Take it from the emergency fund. This qualifies, right?" She was right, but something bothered me about the conversation. Maybe it was the pause before she answered, or the fact that she'd never mentioned carpooling with Jennifer before. That evening, she came home with groceries and a bright smile. "I got your favorite," she said, pulling out ingredients for chicken marsala. "Figured you deserved something special after your car trouble." "Thanks. How was work?" "Boring. Jennifer talked my ear off about her ex-boyfriend drama. She started unpacking vegetables." "Oh, and good news. My Thursday class is canceled. Mr. Peterson has some family thing." "That's too bad. You love those classes." "It's fine. We can have a date night instead. Maybe try that new Italian place?" We did go to the Italian place, and it was lovely. Valerie was attentive and affectionate, asking about my presentation, laughing at my stories about difficult clients. But throughout dinner, I kept thinking about that pause on the phone, the slight tremor in her hands the night before. Little things that meant nothing individually, but together created a faint discord in the harmony of our life. My BMW was fixed by Saturday, just the battery, thankfully. Life returned to normal. Tuesday came, and Valerie left for class as usual. "We're doing portrait work tonight," she said, checking her camera battery. "Mr. Peterson wants us to focus on capturing emotion. Whose portraits? We pair up with classmates, take turns modeling and shooting. Bring home some good ones. I'd love to see what you're learning. Most of them come out terrible, she laughed. You don't want to see my disasters. I want to see everything you create. That strange expression crossed her face again. Maybe when I get better, when I have something worth showing. After she left, I found myself wandering the house restlessly. 8 years of marriage, and suddenly I was noticing things I'd overlooked. Like how she never brought home any class materials, no syllabus, no handouts, no textbooks. She had photography books, sure, but nothing that specifically referenced her courses. I went to her laptop, then stopped. What was I doing? Spying on my wife because she'd paused on a phone call? Because she seemed nervous about her photography class? But the seed of doubt had been planted. I opened her laptop. I knew her password, just as she knew mine. We'd never had secrets. Or so I thought. Her browser history was normal. Work sites, shopping, social media. Her email contained nothing unusual. I felt foolish and guilty for looking. Then I noticed something. Her Google location history. Tuesday nights showed her at Mesa Community College, as expected. But the dot wasn't at the visual arts building where photography classes were held. It was at the parking structure, for 3 hours, every Tuesday and Thursday. Maybe the GPS was inaccurate. Maybe she walked to class from there. There were explanations. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The next Tuesday, I made a decision that would change everything. At 6:25, just as Valerie was preparing to leave, I stood up from my desk. My car's making that noise again, I lied. I don't trust it for tomorrow's meeting. Mind if I drop you at class and pick you up after? We could grab dessert on the way home. I watched her process this, saw the micro expressions flash across her face. Surprise, calculation, resignation. That's sweet, but you don't need to pick me up. Sarah from class can give me a ride. Sarah? I've mentioned her. Older lady takes amazing landscape shots. I hadn't remembered any Sarah, but I nodded. Well, at least let me drop you off. Okay, thanks, honey. The drive to Mesa Community College took 23 minutes. Valerie filled the silence with chatter about work, about her mother's upcoming visit, about the new restaurant opening downtown. Normal conversation, but delivered with an undercurrent of tension I'd never noticed before. Visual arts building, right? I asked as we entered campus. Yes, second floor. I pulled up to the main entrance. She leaned over, kissed me quickly. Thanks for the ride. See you later. Have fun. Learn something amazing. I always do. I watched her walk through the entrance, then pulled into a visitor's spot where I could see the building. Call it intuition or paranoia, but I waited. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The second floor windows remained dark. No lights came on in what should have been an active classroom. I got out and walked to the building. The lobby was empty except for a janitor mopping the floors. Excuse me, I said. Are there classes going on upstairs? Photography? He looked up. Not at night. Building closes at 6 except for special events. But my wife takes photography here, Tuesday and Thursday nights. He shook his head. Haven't had night classes in this building for over a year. Budget cuts. My heart was pounding as I climbed to the second floor. Room 201, where intermediate photography should have been in session, was locked and dark. A schedule on the bulletin board confirmed what the janitor had said. No evening classes. I practically ran to the registrar's office, which was thankfully still open for late registration. Can you tell me about the photography classes? I asked the student worker at the desk. Specifically Mr. Peterson's intermediate course? She typed something into her computer. We don't have any instructor named Peterson, and our only photography class this semester meets Saturday mornings with Professor Rodriguez. But my wife, She's been taking Tuesday and Thursday evening photography for 18 months. The girl gave me a sympathetic look. I'm sorry, sir. We haven't offered evening photography since the budget cuts 2 years ago. I stumbled out of the office, my mind reeling. Where was Valerie? Her phone location showed her still at the college, but I just confirmed her class didn't exist. I searched the parking structures until I found her Honda on the third level. Empty. I positioned myself where I could watch it while remaining hidden behind a concrete pillar. 20 minutes later, Valerie appeared. But she came from the wrong direction. Not from the visual arts building, but from the north side of campus. She was walking quickly, almost jogging, her camera bag bouncing against her hip. She got in her car but didn't start it immediately. Instead, she sat there for several minutes, staring straight ahead. Then she pulled out her phone and made a call. I was too far away to hear, but her gestures suggested she was upset about something. Finally, she started the car and pulled out. Instead of heading home or anywhere familiar, she drove east toward Tempe. I followed at a distance, my rental car, hastily obtained from the campus enterprise, anonymous in the evening traffic. She wound through suburban streets I'd never seen before, finally stopping in a quiet neighborhood of older ranch homes. She parked 3 houses down from a corner property with a large Palo Verde tree in the front yard. I parked a block away and watched. Valerie sat in her car for 40 minutes. Several times she raised her camera to her face, the telephoto lens pointed at the corner house. In the growing darkness, I could see the rapid-fire flash of the shutter. Through the house's living room window, illuminated by television light, I could make out a figure, a man sitting alone, occasionally checking his phone or taking a drink from what looked like a beer bottle. Who was he? Why was my wife photographing him? At 9:45, Valerie started her car and headed back toward the college. I didn't follow. Instead, I approached the house, noting the address. 4782 East Mulberry Street. The mailbox read A. Russo. The name hit me like a physical blow. Anthony Russo, Valerie's college boyfriend. The one who'd broken her heart when he moved to Chicago for work. That was 13 years ago, before we'd even met. I sat in my car for a long time, trying to make sense of what I'd discovered. My wife had been lying about taking classes for 18 months. Instead, she'd been… what? Stalking her ex-boyfriend? Taking photos of him without his knowledge? I drove home in a daze, arriving 15 minutes before Valerie's usual time. When she walked in at 10:35, exactly when she always arrived from class, she seemed perfectly normal. How was the portrait work? I managed to ask. Challenging, she said, setting down her camera bag with practiced ease. Mr. Peterson had us experiment with shadows. It's amazing how lighting can completely change someone's face. She pulled out her camera, showing me several black and white portraits on the LCD screen. They were good, well-composed, dramatic lighting. But when had she taken them? Who were these people? These are your classmates. Yeah, that's Tom, and this is Lisa. She's actually a professional makeup artist, takes classes for fun. The lies flowed so smoothly. She'd created an entire fictional world, complete with characters and backstories. They're good, I said, my voice sounding hollow. You're really improving. Thanks. I feel like I'm finally understanding composition. She yawned. I'm exhausted, though. Mind if I shower first? Go ahead. While she showered, I carefully removed the memory card from her camera, replacing it with an identical one I'd bought weeks ago for a backup. My hands shook as I inserted it into my laptop. The photos loaded slowly, each thumbnail a piece of evidence I didn't want to see. 1,547 images, all from the last 3 months. Every single one featured the same subject: Anthony Russo. Photos of him leaving for work, arriving home, mowing his lawn, checking mail, photos through windows, Him cooking dinner, watching TV, working on his laptop. The metadata showed the pattern clearly. Tuesday and Thursday evenings, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. But this was just one memory card. Where were the others? I heard the shower turn off and quickly closed the laptop. Valerie emerged in her pajamas, hair wrapped in a towel. "You okay?" she asked. "You look pale." "Just tired, long day." She sat beside me on the couch, curling into my side with familiar comfort. "Want to watch something?" "Sure." We put on a show we'd been following, but I couldn't focus. My wife's head rested on my shoulder while my mind raced through the implications of what I'd discovered. 18 months of lies. 18 months of surveillance. 18 months of… what? Obsession? Mental illness? Something worse? Greg? Do you ever think about the road not taken? Like, what would have happened if we'd made different choices? The question felt loaded given what I'd just discovered. Sometimes. Why? I don't know. Just philosophical tonight, I guess. She was quiet for a moment. "I had this dream last night. I was in two places at once, here with you, but also somewhere else, living a completely different life. It felt so real, I woke up confused about which was true." "That's unsettling." "Yeah." She shifted closer. "I'm glad this is the real one. The life we built together." But was it? Was any of this real to her? Or was I just a supporting character in some elaborate fantasy where Anthony Russo was the lead? The next day, after Valerie left for work, I tore the house apart looking for evidence. I found the external hard drive hidden in the back of the filing cabinet, wrapped in an old sweater. Password protected, but I knew Valerie's patterns. Our anniversary date unlocked it. 8,000 photos. 18 months of surveillance organized by date. The earliest ones were distant, shot from across streets or through car windows. But they showed clear escalation. Recent folders contained images so detailed you could see the brand of coffee he drank, the titles of books on his shelf, the expression on his face during phone calls. The subfolder labels made my skin crawl. Morning routine, weekdays, weekend schedule, new girlfriend, Patricia, holiday decorations, weight, loss, progress, looking good, sick week, February, family visits. Each folder contained dozens, sometimes hundreds of photos. She'd documented this man's life more thoroughly than she'd ever documented ours. I found notebooks hidden in her craft supplies. Not journals exactly, but logs. Detailed records of Anthony's movements. Tuesday, March 5th, 7:03 a.m. Leaves for work, blue tie, important meeting. 6:47 p.m. Arrives home 7:15 p.m. Orders takeout, Thai, Pad C EW. 7:42 p.m. Delivery arrives. 8:30 p.m. Takes trash out 9 p.m. Bedroom light on 11:30 p.m. Lights off. Page after page of this. Times, activities, observations. Notes in the margins. Seemed happy today. Argument on phone, Patricia. New neighbor introduced herself. Threat? That last note chilled me. Threat? To what? I photographed everything, building my own documentation of her documentation. The irony wasn't lost on me. In her jewelry box, hidden behind necklaces she never wore, I found printed photos. Some from their college relationship, young, tanned, smiling at parties and on beaches. But mixed in were recent surveillance shots, printed on expensive photo paper. She'd created some kind of shrine, past and present blended together. My phone rang. Valerie. "Hey honey, just wanted to let you know I might be late tonight. Jennifer needs help with a project." Jennifer. The same Jennifer she'd supposedly carpooled with. "No problem," I said, proud of how normal my voice sounded. "I'll grab dinner with Tom." "Perfect. Love you." "Love you too." I hung up and immediately called Valerie's office. Jennifer Patterson, please, I said, when the receptionist answered. I'm sorry, we don't have anyone by that name. Did you mean Jennifer Collins in receivables? Maybe. Is there another Jennifer in accounting? No, sir. Jennifer Collins is our only Jennifer. I hung up. Another lie. How many were there? That evening, I followed Valerie again. This time, she went straight to Anthony's neighborhood, parking in a different spot but with the same view of his house. I watched from a distance as she photographed him through his windows for 2 hours. At one point, a woman arrived, attractive, mid-30s, driving a blue Mazda. She greeted Anthony with a kiss at the door. Patricia, I assumed, from the folder labels. Even from a block away, I could see Valerie's agitation. She lowered her camera, both hands gripping the steering wheel. For a moment, I thought she might get out of the car, might actually approach the house. But she stayed put, raising the camera again when Anthony and Patricia moved to the living room. This continued for another hour. 2 people inside, living their normal evening. 1 person outside, documenting every visible moment. And 1 more person watching the watcher, trying to understand how his marriage had become this recursive nightmare of surveillance. When Valerie finally drove home, I was already there, having taken a faster route. How was Jennifer's project? I asked when she walked in. Exhausting. Budget reports are the worst. She collapsed on the couch beside me. How was dinner with Tom? Good. He says hi. We were both lying now, spinning fictional evenings to cover our real activities. The difference was I was lying to catch her in deception. She was lying to… what? Continue stalking her ex-boyfriend? Live in some elaborate fantasy? I'm going to shower, she said. Unless you need the bathroom? Go ahead. While she showered, I went through her laptop more thoroughly. Her search history, which I'd only glanced at before, revealed the depth of her obsession. Anthony Russo Wells Fargo, Patricia Santos Phoenix, how to enhance photos taken through glass, telephoto lens, night photography, Arizona stalking laws. Is it illegal to take photos of someone? How to tell if someone knows they're being watched. Anthony Russo LinkedIn, Patricia Santos Instagram, best camera settings for surveillance, how to recover deleted Facebook photos. That last search led me to a revelation. She'd been trying to recover old photos from their college relationship, presumably to add to her shrine. I also found a secondary email account I didn't know about. The inbox was full of notifications from social media platforms. She'd created fake accounts to monitor Anthony's online presence. Desert Rose Photography on Instagram, following his public account. Sarah Mitchell on Facebook, friend of friends who could see his posts. Anonymous on LinkedIn, viewing his profile obsessively. The drafts folder in this email contained unsent messages to Anthony. I see you every day, even when you don't see me. Remember the Chinese food we used to order on Tuesdays? You still order the same thing. She's not right for you. You know it. I know it. End it before someone gets hurt. You kept the cologne. You still wear it. That means something. We were perfect together. We can be again. None were sent, thankfully. But the escalation in tone was obvious. The recent ones contained barely veiled threats against Patricia. Thursday arrived with a sense of dread. Valerie prepared for her class as usual. We're doing architectural photography tonight, she said, checking her lenses. Mr. Peterson wants us to explore how buildings look different in artificial light. Sounds interesting. It is, though I prefer portraits. Buildings don't have souls to capture. Unlike the man you've been photographing for 18 months, I wanted to ask. After she left, I made a decision. This couldn't continue. Anthony deserved to know he was being stalked. Patricia deserved to know she might be in danger. And Valerie needed help. I called my lawyer friend, Michael. I need advice about a sensitive situation, I said. If someone discovers their spouse is stalking someone, what's the legal obligation? That's specific. Are we talking hypothetically? I wish we were. Jesus, Greg. Valerie? Yeah. How bad? 18 months of surveillance, thousands of photos, detailed logs of movements, possible escalation toward violence. You need to go to the police. Tonight. If something happens and you knew about it, you could be liable. Morally, definitely. Legally, possibly. What about Valerie? What happens to her? Depends on the evidence and the prosecutor. Could be anything from mandatory counseling to prison time. But Greg, if she's escalating, the victim's safety has to come first. He was right. I knew he was right. But going to the police meant destroying my marriage, possibly sending my wife to prison, definitely destroying her life. I decided to try one more thing first. I drove to Anthony's house and parked where I could see both his front door and Valerie's usual surveillance spot. She was already there, camera trained on his windows. I called her cell. "Hey, honey," she answered, and I could hear the forced casualness in her voice. "How's class going?" "Good. We just took a break. Architectural photography is harder than I expected." "Yeah? What building are you photographing?" "The old courthouse. The columns are beautiful at night." The old courthouse was 15 miles away. I watched her watching Anthony's house as she spun this elaborate lie. "Valerie, where are you, really?" Silence. I saw her lower the camera, her body going rigid. "What do you mean?" "I'm at class." "No, you're not. I know about Anthony. I know about the photos. I know you've been watching him for 18 months. She didn't respond, but I saw her start her car. "Don't run," I said. "We need to talk about this. You need help." "You don't understand," she finally said, her voice small. "You could never understand." "Then help me understand. Come home. Explain it to me." "I can't. I have to go." She hung up. I watched her drive away, not toward home but toward the freeway. I didn't follow. Instead, I knocked on Anthony's door. He answered cautiously. It was past 9 p.m. after all. "Can I help you?" "My name is Greg Hoffman. You don't know me, but you dated my wife in college. Valerie Patterson?" His face showed surprise, then confusion. "Val? Yeah, we dated years ago. Is she okay?" "No, she's not. Can I come in? You need to know something." He let me in, and I showed him a small sample of photos on my phone. His face went white. "She's been... These are all of me?" "There are 8,000 more. She's been watching you for 18 months, every Tuesday and Thursday. She knows your entire routine, has documented your whole life." "Oh my God." He sat down heavily. "Oh my God. Why?" "I think she's mentally ill. She's created this fantasy where you two are still connected. She's escalating. She has photos of Patricia too, and her journal suggests she sees Patricia as a threat. We need to call the police." "Yes, but I wanted to warn you first. Change your routines immediately. Stay somewhere else if you can. And call Patricia. She needs to know." Anthony was shaking. 18 months? She's been watching me for 18 months? "Every Tuesday and Thursday, 7 to 10 p.m. Some other times too." I thought I saw... Sometimes I felt like someone was watching, but I told myself I was being paranoid. You weren't. We called the police together. 2 officers arrived within 30 minutes, took our statements, looked at the evidence. They put out an alert for Valerie, but she'd turned off her phone, making her harder to track. "We'll find her," Officer Martinez assured us. "In the meantime, Mr. Russo, we'd recommend staying elsewhere tonight." I went home to an empty house. Valerie's closet had been ransacked. Clothes grabbed hastily, drawers left open. Her camera equipment was gone. Her laptop, too. She'd run. The police found her car abandoned at a rest stop near Flagstaff the next morning. She'd bought a bus ticket with cash, destination unknown. Her phone was found in a trash can, factory reset. I spent the next week in a surreal limbo. Police interviewed me repeatedly. I turned over all the evidence I'd found. Anthony got a restraining order against Valerie, though it felt pointless with her missing. Patricia was terrified, stayed with Anthony constantly. They both looked haunted when I saw them at the police station. "I'm sorry," I told them. "I should have seen the signs sooner." "How could you know?" Patricia asked. "If someone told me my partner was secretly stalking their ex, I wouldn't believe it." But I should have known. Looking back, there were so many signs. The rigid schedule, the complete lack of class materials or classmate interactions, the way she'd sometimes murmur Anthony's name in her sleep. I thought she was saying Antony, like the Shakespeare character, and found it endearingly nerdy. Michael helped me file for divorce and freeze our joint accounts. I changed the locks, installed security cameras. Every time a car slowed near the house, I wondered if it was her. 2 weeks after she disappeared, I got a call from an unknown number. "Greg? Valerie, where are you?" "It doesn't matter. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry." "You need to come back. Face this. Get help." "I can't. They'll arrest me." "You need treatment, not jail. I'll get you the best lawyer, the best doctors. Please." "You were good to me," she said, ignoring my plea. "Better than I deserved. I did love you, in my way." "Then come back. If you ever loved me, come back and get help." I can't stop thinking about him. Even now, even after everything, I can't stop. It's like he's burned into my brain. Do you understand what that's like? To love someone so much it destroys you? That's not love, Valerie. It's obsession. It's illness. Maybe. But it feels like love. It feels like the only real thing I've ever felt. Our marriage wasn't real. It was different, quieter, like living in a pleasant dream. But Anthony was always there, in the background, pulling at me. When I found out he'd moved back to Phoenix, it was like the universe was giving me a sign. The universe wasn't giving you anything. You chose to stalk him. You chose to lie to me for 18 months. I know. She was crying now. I know what I chose, and I know it was wrong, but I couldn't stop. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, I told myself it would be the last time. But then I'd see him, and I'd need to capture just one more moment, document one more evening. I was building a collection of moments, proof that we existed in the same space and time. "Valerie, please, tell me where you are." "I have to go. Take care of yourself, Greg. Find someone who can love you completely. Not just with the parts of themselves that aren't already claimed." She hung up. The police traced the call to a payphone in Albuquerque, but by the time they arrived, she was gone. The divorce went through without her presence. Abandonment made it simpler. I got the house, most of the assets. It felt hollow. I'd rather have had my wife back, the version I thought I'd married. I started therapy to process the betrayal. Dr. Brooks helped me understand that I'd been a victim too, that Valerie's deception wasn't my fault. "People with delusional disorders can be extremely convincing," she explained. "They believe their own lies so completely that detecting them becomes nearly impossible." But I should have verified something. In 18 months, I never once checked if her class was real. Why would you? Trust is the foundation of marriage. Questioning everything your partner says isn't healthy either. 3 months after Valerie disappeared, I got a package with no return address. Inside was a photo album, not of Anthony, but of us. Our wedding, vacations, celebrations. Photos I'd never seen before, taken when I wasn't aware. Me reading in my chair, me cooking breakfast, me sleeping. She'd been documenting me too, but differently. These photos felt tender, protective, like she was trying to preserve something she knew she was losing. The last page contained a note. "These are the moments I should have treasured more. The quiet Sunday mornings, the shared laughter, the the simple comfort of existing together. I was so busy chasing ghosts that I didn't see the life right in front of me. By the time I understood this, it was too late. The obsession had already consumed everything good. Don't look for me. Let me disappear into whatever shadow swallows people like me. Remember the woman you married, not the stranger I became. Or maybe I was always the stranger and the woman you married was the fiction. I don't know anymore. Be happy, Greg. Be free. V. I kept the album but didn't look at it often. It hurt too much seeing evidence of the life we'd had alongside the knowledge of the lie it had always been. 6 months later, Anthony and Patricia moved to Colorado. He sent me an email. We're starting fresh. New state, new jobs, new everything. I still have nightmares about being watched. Patricia does too. We both see threats in every parked car, every person with a camera. But we're working through it together. Thank you for warning me. Thank you for doing the right thing even though it cost you everything. If you hadn't come forward, I don't know what might have happened. I hope you're finding your own fresh start. Anthony. I was trying. I'd sold the house. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I moved to a condo downtown, modern and impersonal. I threw myself into work, taking on more clients than I could handle. Exhaustion was better than thinking, but healing isn't linear. Some days I'd forget, would reach for my phone to text Valerie something funny. Other days, the betrayal felt so fresh I could barely breathe. I started dating after a year. Sarah was a therapist, ironically. We met at a coffee shop when she noticed I was reading a book about recovering from betrayal. Heavy reading for a Sunday morning, she'd commented. Life's been heavy lately, I'd replied. We talked for 3 hours. I told her everything on our third date, expecting her to run. Instead, she held my hand. We all have our ghosts, she said. The question is whether we let them define us. We took things slow. I was hypervigilant at first, verifying everything she told me, checking her stories for consistency. She was patient, understanding that trust, once shattered, requires time and proof to rebuild. I don't mind you checking, she said once. It shows you're trying to trust again. That's brave. A year into our relationship, I ran into Jennifer Collins, the real Jennifer from Valerie's office, at a grocery store. Greg, how are you? We heard about everything. I'm so sorry. Thanks. I'm doing better. She seemed so normal, Jennifer said, shaking her head. We worked together for 5 years and I never suspected anything was wrong. She was good at seeming normal. Do you know where she is now? Number. And I don't want to know. That was mostly true. Sometimes I wondered if she'd found help, if she'd moved on from her obsession. But mostly I hoped she'd stayed away for Anthony's sake and her own. 2 years after everything collapsed, I got a call from Detective Morrison. Mr. Hoffman, I wanted to update you. We've located your ex-wife. My heart stopped. Is Anthony safe? She's in a psychiatric facility in New Mexico. Voluntary commitment. She's been there for 18 months. Voluntary. She walked into an emergency room in Santa Fe, told them she was having delusions about hurting people. They evaluated her, and she agreed to long-term treatment. How long-term? Indefinite. She's been diagnosed with erotomania. It's a delusional disorder where someone believes another person is in love with them despite clear evidence to the contrary. It's serious but treatable with medication and therapy. Will she be released? Eventually, possibly, but not until the doctors are certain she's not a danger to herself or others. She's asked me to tell you she's sorry. She wanted you to know she's getting help. Thank you for letting me know. After I hung up, I sat for a long time processing this information. Valerie was getting help. She'd recognized her illness and sought treatment. It didn't undo the damage, but maybe it meant she could eventually have some kind of normal life. I told Sarah that evening. How do you feel about it? She asked. Relieved, I think. Maybe a little sad. The person I married is really gone. Has been gone for years. Maybe was never real to begin with. But at least the person she became is getting help. That's a healthy way to look at it. Is it? Sometimes I wonder if I should feel angrier. She stole 18 months of my life, made me complicit in stalking through my ignorance. Anger is valid, but holding on to it only hurts you. She's facing consequences, legal, social, psychological. Your anger won't add anything useful to that. She was right. I'd learned that in my own therapy. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting or excusing. It meant releasing the poison of resentment so it couldn't corrupt my future. 3 years after that night at Mesa Community College, I drove by the campus. They'd resumed evening classes. Budget had been partially restored. Real students walked into real classrooms for real instruction. I thought about the elaborate fiction Valerie had maintained. The detailed stories about Mr. Peterson's teaching methods. The invented classmates with their full backstories. The technical knowledge she'd somehow acquired to make her lies convincing. In a way, she had been taking classes. Self-taught courses in surveillance, in photography, in deception. She'd become an expert in her twisted field, dedicating herself with the same intensity real students brought to their studies. The camera I'd bought her still sat in my closet at the condo. Sarah had suggested I sell it or donate it, but I couldn't bring myself to do either. It was evidence of my naivety, maybe, but also of my capacity to support someone's dreams. The fact that those dreams had been camouflaged for obsession didn't negate the good intention behind the gift. Maybe you should use it yourself, Sarah suggested one day. Reclaim it. Create new associations. I don't know anything about photography. You could learn, take a real class, see what Valerie was supposedly experiencing. The idea had merit. I signed up for a basic photography course, Sunday afternoons, fully verified, with a real instructor named Amy who definitely existed. The first class was surreal. Sitting in an actual classroom, surrounded by other beginners, learning about aperture and shutter speed. This was what Valerie had been pretending to do while she sat in her car documenting Anthony's life. Photography is about capturing truth, Amy said during that first session. Even when we manipulate images, we're trying to reveal something real about our subjects or ourselves. I thought about the 8,000 photos of Anthony. What truth had Valerie been trying to capture? What had she been trying to reveal? Maybe it was the truth of her own broken psychology. Each image a symptom, the collection a diagnosis. Or maybe she'd been trying to capture proof of a connection that existed only in her mind. Evidence of a love story that had ended 13 years ago. I learned the basics: composition, lighting, depth of field. I was terrible at first, my photos blurry or poorly framed. But gradually I improved. I found I enjoyed street photography, capturing candid moments of strangers living their lives. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was photographing people without their knowledge, just as Valerie had. But there was a crucial difference. I wasn't fixated on one person, wasn't invading anyone's privacy, wasn't building elaborate fantasies around my subjects. They were anonymous figures in a broader human tapestry, not objects of obsession. One Sunday, after class, I ran into Patricia at a farmer's market. She looked good, relaxed, the haunted expression gone. "Greg, how are you?" "Good, you?" "Much better. Anthony and I are actually engaged." She showed me a simple, elegant ring. We figured if we could survive what happened, we could survive anything. "Congratulations. How is he?" "Good days and bad days. He still has hypervigilance issues, checks windows constantly, varies his routes obsessively. But therapy helps. Time helps." She paused. "Have you heard anything about—" "She's in treatment. Long-term psychiatric facility in New Mexico." "Good. That's good. For everyone, including her." Yeah. You know, Anthony doesn't blame you. Neither do I. You were as much a victim as we were. I appreciate that. We actually wanted to invite you to the wedding, but thought it might be too weird. It would be a little weird, I admitted with a small laugh. But I appreciate the thought. I wish you both happiness. Same to you. Are you seeing anyone? I am. Sarah. She's wonderful. Good. You deserve that. After she left, I sat on a bench and thought about the strange connections tragedy creates. Patricia and I would always be linked by Valerie's deception. Anthony and I were brothers in a brotherhood neither of us had asked to join. Even Sarah was part of it, helping me heal from wounds inflicted before she'd known I existed. 4 years passed. Sarah and I moved in together. I continued with photography as a hobby, even had a small exhibition at a local coffee shop. Life developed a new normal, one built on verified truths and careful trust. Then, one Tuesday evening, because of course it was a Tuesday, I got a call from Jennifer, Valerie's sister. Greg, I'm sorry to bother you, but I thought you should know. Valerie is being released next month. My stomach dropped. Released? Is she better? The doctors think so. She's been stable on medication for 2 years. She's shown no signs of fixation on Anthony or anyone else. She'll be in a halfway house in Tucson, closely monitored. Does Anthony know? The authorities will notify him. There's still a restraining order in place. She can't go within 500 feet of him or Patricia, can't contact them in any way. What about me? There's no order regarding you, but she's asked me to tell you she won't contact you. She wants you to have your life without interference. Do you believe she's really better? Jennifer sighed. I want to. She seems different, clearer, more grounded. The medication controls the delusions, but honestly, I don't know if someone can fully recover from what she had. The doctors are optimistic, but they also said she'll need medication and therapy for life. Thanks for telling me. Greg? I'm sorry for everything. I should have seen the signs, should have pushed her to get help sooner. We all should have seen them, but we didn't. That's not our fault. After the call, I told Sarah everything. Are you worried? She asked. I don't know. Maybe. It's been 4 years. We've all moved on, but knowing she'll be out there, free. She's not really free. Halfway house, monitoring, medication requirements. And if she violates any conditions, she goes back. You're right. But it's okay to be anxious about it. It's a normal response. I increased my therapy sessions as the release date approached. Dr. Brooks helped me work through the complex emotions, fear, anger, and strangely, a kind of grief. I'm mourning someone who never existed, I told her. The Valerie I married was a fiction, but I loved that fiction for 8 years. The feelings were real, even if the person wasn't quite who you thought, Dr. Brooks said. It's okay to grieve that loss while also being relieved the real person is getting help. The day of Valerie's release came and went without incident. No contact, no sightings, nothing. Life continued. But I found myself hyper-aware on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 7 and 10 p.m. Some part of me expected to look out the window and see her car, see her watching. It never happened, but the possibility haunted those specific hours. 6 months after her release, Jennifer called again. She's doing well, she reported. Has a job at a plant nursery. Seems to enjoy it. She's not allowed to have a camera or access to photo equipment. Part of her release conditions. That must be hard for her. Maybe. But she says it's freeing, like removing temptation. Is she fixated on anyone? Not that anyone can tell. She goes to work, goes to therapy, goes to her support group. Very routine, very stable. Good. She asked me to tell you something. What? She said, tell Greg that Tuesday and Thursday evenings are just evenings now. Nothing more, nothing less. I understood what she meant. Those times had lost their power, their compulsion. They were just hours on a clock, not sacred windows for surveillance. Tell her. Tell her I'm glad she's getting better. I will. Years passed. Sarah and I got married in a small ceremony. Anthony and Patricia had 2 children. Life moved forward for all of us, the strange, traumatic connection fading but never quite disappearing. I sometimes wondered what Valerie's life looked like now. Did she think about those 18 months of surveillance? Did she remember the elaborate fiction of Mr. Peterson's photography class? Did she ever feel the pull to document someone's life again? Jennifer sent occasional updates. Valerie remained stable. She'd moved from the halfway house to a supervised apartment. She'd been promoted at the nursery, now managed the succulent section. She attended therapy twice a week, took her medication religiously. She was, by all accounts, living a quiet, controlled life. She seems content, Jennifer told me during one call. Not happy exactly, but peaceful. Like someone who's walked through fire and is grateful just to not be burning anymore. I understood that feeling. 10 years after that night at Mesa Community College, I received a final communication. Not from Valerie directly, but through her therapist, with Jennifer's permission. It was a single photograph, not of Anthony or me or anyone. It was a picture of a succulent garden, carefully arranged, beautifully maintained. The composition was perfect, the lighting natural and warm. At the bottom, a small card read, "What I grow now instead of obsessions. V." It was the first photo she'd been allowed to take in years, supervised and approved by her treatment team. A sign of progress, of interest redirected toward healthier channels. I showed it to Sarah. "It's beautiful," she said. "Hopeful, even." "Yeah. Do you want to respond?" I thought about it for a long time. Part of me wanted to acknowledge the progress, to offer some kind of closure. But I knew contact could be dangerous for both of us. Triggering for her, unsettling for me. "No," I finally said. "Let her have her peace. Let us all have our peace." Sarah squeezed my hand. "That's wise." I kept the photo, though, tucked in the album with our old pictures. Not as a reminder of the deception or the pain, but as evidence that people can change, can redirect their destructive energies toward creation. The succulent garden was real. The plants were real. The growth was real. After years of documenting an unwitting subject's life, Valerie had found something genuine to nurture. It wasn't redemption exactly. The harm she'd caused couldn't be undone. Anthony would always check windows. Patricia would always distrust strangers with cameras. I would always verify Tuesday and Thursday evening plans. But it was progress. It was proof that even the most elaborate deceptions could give way to simple truths. That even the most consuming obsessions could be replaced with healthier focuses. The camera still sits in my closet, though I use it now for my own photography. I've gotten good enough to sell some prints, though it remains just a hobby. Sometimes when I hold it, I remember that Christmas morning when Valerie unwrapped it, her face lighting up with what seemed like genuine joy. Had she already been stalking Anthony then? Or did the camera enable an existing fixation? I'll never know for certain. The timeline suggests the surveillance started before I gave her the camera, but having professional equipment must have escalated things. Sarah has suggested I get rid of it, buy a new one without the baggage. But I've made my peace with it. It's just a tool, neutral in itself. It documented obsession in Valerie's hands, but it captures beauty in mine. The same lens that invaded Anthony's privacy now frames moments of genuine life. Street scenes, landscapes, portraits of friends who've actually consented to be photographed. Sometimes I photograph Sarah, with her knowledge and permission. She laughs at my direction, makes faces at the camera, lives fully in the moment without the shadow of surveillance. These photos go in albums we look at together, Memories we've consciously chosen to preserve. You know what I love about these? Sarah said once, flipping through photos from our vacation. They're all taken with awareness. I knew you were photographing me. I was participating in creating these memories, not being documented without my knowledge. That's how it should be. Yes, that's exactly how it should be. Last month, Mesa Community College sent out a newsletter to all past and present students. They were celebrating 50 years of continuing education programs. Among the featured courses was Introduction to Photography, Tuesday, Thursday evenings, 7 to 10 p.m. Instructor, Mr. James Peterson. I stared at the name for a long time. Mr. Peterson. Not the same first name Valerie had used, but close enough to make me wonder. Had there once been a Mr. Peterson teaching photography? Had Valerie built her elaborate fiction on a foundation of expired truth? I could have called the college, investigated, satisfied my curiosity. But I didn't. Some questions don't need answers. Some truths don't need excavation. What matters is that Mr. James Peterson exists now, teaches real classes to real students in a real classroom. The fiction Valerie created has been replaced by fact. The lie has been overwritten by truth. I showed the newsletter to Sarah. Weird coincidence, she said. Yeah. Does it bother you? Not really. It feels like closure, maybe? Like the universe correcting itself? The universe doesn't care about our human dramas. I know, but it's nice to pretend it does. She kissed my cheek. You've come a long way from the man who discovered his wife's deception 5 years ago. We all have. Even Valerie, in her way. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't discovered the truth? If her car hadn't broken down that night? Sometimes, she might have escalated further. Someone might have been hurt. Or maybe she would have eventually stopped on her own, gotten help before things got worse. You did the right thing. I know, but knowing doesn't always make it feel better. No, Sarah agreed. It doesn't. We sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd found each other in the aftermath of betrayal. Our relationship wasn't built on the ashes of my marriage. It was built beside them, acknowledging the destruction while choosing to create something new. The story could end here, with hard-won peace and careful hope. But life doesn't really end. It just continues. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening, I notice the clock at 7 p.m. Not with anxiety anymore, just awareness. Somewhere, the real Mr. Peterson is teaching real photography to real students. Somewhere, Valerie is tending her succulents, taking her medication, attending her therapy. Somewhere, Anthony and Patricia are living their lives, probably checking their windows, but hopefully less often than before. And here, in my condo with Sarah, I'm living a life built on verified truth. It's smaller than the life I thought I had with Valerie, less grand, less romantic in its mythology, but it's real. The love is real. The trust, rebuilt grain by grain, is real. The photos we take are real, consensual, shared. That's enough. More than enough. It's everything.